In 2015, the Dragon Ball fandom was blessed with a brand new theatrical movie, and most of you guys went to go see this movie in theaters last year. And then, when Dragon Ball Super was airing, you rewatched the same story again. But I'm sure some of you probably wonder, wouldn't it be cool if you could take the best elements of the movie and the best elements of the arc from Super and combine them? Well, guess what? It's done. And joining me on this video, we're going to talk about the Resurrection F Supercut with AJ, and it's next. Be sure to check out my Facebook page and interact with me directly there over at Geekdom 101 on Facebook. I'll leave the link down below. When Dragon Ball Super was first announced, we weren't exactly sure what they were going to do with the series, and we quickly found out that they were going to indeed be retelling the Battle of Gods and Resurrection F films into arcs. And a lot of us were kind of anticipating what they would do with the Resurrection F arc, what they would add to it, the changes they would make from the movie. And some of us were pretty disappointed, but some of us were happy with some of the stuff they added. Well, one person, one savior, has taken the movie, the best parts of the film, taken the best parts of the anime, the arc, and put it together to create a new 2-hour and 3-minute cut of Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F called the Supercut. And I want to talk to you guys about it and talk to him. Please welcome AJ. Hello.
Hi. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Kind of dying. The Englishman is not used to this hot weather. It's not fun.
Well, that's how it is over here as well. I live in Florida, bro, so it's always like this. So if you do decide to check out the Supercut, as always, I always say make sure you support the official version of Resurrection F. You can buy it from Funimation. You can buy it online on Amazon. It's probably still even at Walmart, and you can also get it digitally as well. So definitely be sure to support the official version because, guys, if you don't do that, we might not get more of it. And as you know, we want more Dragon Ball. More Dragon Ball is always good for all of us. This is a fan cut of the movie. And if you want more information, I will link to AJ's Twitter down below. Check out his Twitter to get more information about this cut. Couple things here. The Resurrection F movie was a fun movie to see, but it had its share of problems. I felt that the film really had no actual story. It was kind of a revenge plot for Frieza, which does make a lot of sense. But I felt that it needed kind of more, of a build-up, so to speak. And then when we got to Dragon Ball Super, we actually had 4 episodes in between the Battle of Gods and the Resurrection F arc that kind of helped build up this arc, so to speak. And what you've done with this cut is you've essentially taken some of that and put it in. But before we get to that, I just wanted to ask you why. Like, why did you decide to do this cut? I feel like somebody had to do it, but why did you decide to do it?
Well, when I first saw Resurrection F, I think like a lot of people, I was initially blown away by it because it's a film that's all about spectacle. It's a lot like the older Toei films where the focus, it's all on the action and it's the transformations, the fighting. It's what a lot of fans want from Dragon Ball, especially Z fans. But for me, having absolutely loved Battle of Gods and all of the universe expanding stuff they'd done in that film, the film Resurrection F didn't feel like a sequel to it. It had elements that obviously tied to it. Beerus was there. We had the new transformation, but there was no real ties to the previous film. Like you didn't feel like it didn't feel like the film sort of came from Battle of Gods, if that makes sense. So the edit tries to fix that and tries to focus on Vegeta. He spends a lot of time in my edit lamenting over not being as good as Goku, and I just tried to sort of bring in the training aspects, bring in Vegeta's inner thoughts, and try and turn it into a film that sort of has a beginning, a middle, and an end, really. Whereas the way it currently is, it's kind of just, here are our characters, here's some fighting, here's some more fighting, here's the end of the film. And that didn't really work for me on the rest of the time that I watched the film outside of the first time around. The spectacle was kind of gone.
I agree with you. And for me, I had kind of learned what happened because of the leaks from Japan, from Kanzenshuu and whatnot. So when I went into the movie, I knew what to expect. And it was that problem. Now, you have studied filmmaking in the past, so obviously you're very aware of the 3-act structure. And I feel like what you did by incorporating that Vegeta stuff is you essentially, because, the problem with the movie is that it has no second act. The first act is the revival of Frieza, and then a little bit of training, and then we jump to the big fight at the end with Frieza's army against the Z fighters or whatever, Gohan and them. But what you've done is you've taken, like you talked about, the Vegeta training and the build up to making Whis like his master, and you made that the first cut while also intercutting between the revival of Frieza and things like that. What I wanted to ask you about is because it does come off like a better movie, but I also noticed that you didn't edit too much of the end, which I'll get to in a minute. But I wanted to ask you a couple of things that you left out, which I agree with you on, but I wanted to get your perspective. For the supercut, you completely left out any of the Gotenk stuff with Goten and Trunks. You used the film version of that, as well as the Tagoma stuff. You showed Tagoma and Frieza for a split second in that weird scene where they were training, but did not incorporate Tagoma or any of the Ginyu Frog stuff. Now, I was very critical of the Goten Trunks and of the Ginyu stuff. Even though it was fun seeing Ginyu again, it made no sense. Was that the reason why you didn't put it in there? Because it didn't really add anything to the plot?
Well, for me, Tagoma is an amazing character, and when I was first watching Super, I was over the moon to see, oh look, he's alive, and they're doing more with him. And then Ginyu came along, and I was really sad by that. So there was nothing really to do there, but also the fact that the Ginyu Frog stuff never really went anywhere. Piccolo dying, that may have led to Gohan apologizing and asking for him to train, but there's not really a plot line there. You didn't really need Piccolo to die for that to actually happen. So in my edit, the apology scene is in there from episode 27, but the way that it's contextualized is because of how Gohan fails to sort of beat Frieza. He can't really protect anyone at the time. Frieza notes that he's holding back. He gets one shot. There's a lot of things in the film that kind of lead to Gohan sort of having this realization that maybe he needs to keep up with his training just a little bit. I mean, Videl dies, and so does Pan. Like, this is big stuff, and it's kind of a big moment for him. So I tried to take the best parts of Super and work them into the way that the film had already framed that, just kind of expanded on it and sort of try to make it work better, I guess.
It was almost as if what you did was you took what could have been seen as, quote, deleted scenes, so to speak, and put them back in there. Whereas the stuff with Gotenk and the stuff with Ginyu doesn't really seem like a deleted scene. It's more just padding, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Gotenk stuff I left out because it feels tonally inconsistent. The film is very, very serious. So to have a character like Gotenk's thrown in there, he's a very comedic character. He doesn't really do serious. So he sort of, I obviously tried a lot of different things. The film went through many, many iterations, but he just doesn't work, which is a shame.
No, I agree with you. It just doesn't work for that arc. Even though I wanted to see him in the movie, it just didn't work out that way. Now, one thing you did do is during the climactic scene where Frieza blows up the planet, you did put in those scenes of, Dr. Briefs and, Majin Buu and Videl and Pan, which I thought was fantastic because we already saw Pan at the beginning of the movie. So what an emotional scene to see Pan, I hate to say it, but Pan dies. A baby dies in this freaking cut. And it's morbid, but it's what happened. And I felt that it added an extra layer of emotion because one thing I did enjoy about the Super version was that scene. But the one thing I wanted to ask you about is almost every Dragon Ball fan that I talked to loved the Super version of Vegeta fighting Frieza. They thought it was much more, brutal. They thought it felt better. You chose to stay with the film version. Was that purely based on the animation quality being better in the movie, or was there a different reason you didn't put it in there?
I guess primarily it is the animation. The animation in Super is not terrible for that scene, but it's not really that great. And my issue with putting it in the film is that it feels a little bit gratuitous. It's too long. It's excessive for what needs to be a quick, relentless sort of, you're done. This is me, Vegeta. This is my revenge. No, he's not pulling any punches here. This is just a quick over and done with scene. I felt like, well, the Super version is great for a fan to watch and go, yeah, fuck yeah, Vegeta's getting his revenge. But when it comes to, when you sort of think about the context of the film, I didn't think it really worked. Before that, he sort of says, hey, I've decided to completely annihilate you. And to me, Vegeta is he's very much one of those people who he doesn't fuck around. He just gets straight to the point.
And I noticed also, speaking of Vegeta, that in the first act, one thing I wanted to ask you about this because you mentioned earlier that Resurrection F is a more serious film, and it definitely is, but there's still some comedy there with Jaco. However, you did incorporate the Vegeta training with Goku, before the Whis stuff, like when Goku first arrives on the planet. Like you try to make it, like you said, more of a sequel to Battle of Gods, in that Vegeta was kind of just being wacky. They had to clean up, after Beerus and all that stuff they did. You put that in there. So was it an actual effort? Like, was it a methodical effort to put all the humor in the first act? Like, is that kind of what you want to do? Like, kind of keep it Dragon Ball and then slowly kind of make it more and more morbid as the film went on?
Pretty much, yeah. Because one of my major issues with Resurrection F is that its pacing is kind of all over the place because
It's very bad.
when it comes to the Golden Frieza versus Super Saiyan Blue Goku fight, or Yamamura rather, the director, he cuts away to Beerus and Whis a lot, and they're very funny characters, and I love their scenes. But the way that they're positioned in the film kind of never lets that fight go anywhere. There's like tension, then cuts away, and then the tension's gone, and then it finally builds a little bit of tension, then it cuts away again. So I try to keep as much of that in as possible, but the part of the film where Goku delivers his 1-inch punch, that's meant to be this big climax. There's the dramatic
love
music
that
from
part.
Sumitomo. That part's amazing, but it isn't allowed to go anywhere in the original because it cuts straight away back to Beerus and Whis. And once they're done talking, suddenly there's a Kamehameha going on, and there's no it doesn't flow well. So I had to cut just one comedy sequence. I left the other ones in because I felt like they were a nice break in the fighting, but this one section, removing it doesn't hurt the story in any way, but it does make the fight build to the climax that it needs to be before you get to obviously the ray gun section.
Yeah, I'm glad that's my next thing. The fight is pretty much the one from the movie, which it should be because the movie fight. My biggest problem with this fucking arc was that the arc version of the fight was absolutely atrocious. There was a couple of episodes there where just Vegeta or Frieza was wearing shoes, just really, really, really haphazard. The movie version was fluid. I mean, they had a bigger budget, much more martial arts based. Also, I noticed you also kept the Z Fighters against Frieza Squadron movie version as well because it just looks better. And really, I thought the one in the TV show was just ass water. But the one change you did make, which I think a lot of people are going to commend you on when they watch this. And by the way, folks, again, the Twitter's down below. Go check out AJ. But it's funny, by the way, AJ, because there was that rumor that the movie was going to be 2 hours long. It's like, I just find it funny. People were saying, 2 hours long Resurrection F's going to be, and we all kind of knew that it probably wasn't going to be that long. That was kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It wasn't a confirmed rumor. It was just a placeholder. And now we actually have a 2-hour cut that was done by not Toei. But I wanted to ask you about the ray gun scene. You changed it to where Goku gets shot in his base form. This has to be to make it more consistent with the fact that it's hard to believe that a god could not. Like, what was your? I agree with your reasoning, but what was your reasoning behind that?
So look, I don't care about power levels at all. I'm not big on consistency. None of that stuff bothered me throughout the film. But from reading forums, I know that fans don't like how that scene plays out, and they also don't like how at the beginning of the film you have Shenlong saying that there are only 2 wishes when there should be 3. You also have Frieza stating some ridiculous power level. So I cut all of that. Or changed it to the super version where it made more sense to what seemed to be a majority of fans. So that was kind of my little fan service. I don't care about this stuff, but I know that it makes it a better film for some people. So there you go.
No, I think it is a better film. I actually really enjoyed your cut. Now, last thing I want to talk about here is the post-credit scene. Now, I don't want to go into details. I want everybody to go watch this, okay? And I don't want to spoil it. Even though we've already seen the scene in Super, you cut in something special at the end, which I'm in my head canon. You did that for me, even though you didn't. Even though you
all
did.
For you, all for you.
Thank you. I don't want to spoil it, guys. Download the movie and check out the post-credit scene. Which to me, I'm gonna tell you one thing. I'm gonna tell you one thing right now. If they put that post-credit scene in the movie in theaters, I would have probably had a meltdown, literally melted if they had done what you did. Are you teasing a possible cut of the Universe 6 arc in the future, or is that too much work? Because I don't know how you can cut that down in 2 hours.
No, there's no way. Absolutely no way. And look, one of the biggest issues for me editing this film is that the TV version, or just the anime in general, is only stereo. I can only do so much with the audio and editing stuff there.
Yeah,
so to try and edit something
good.
together, yes, but it was a lot of work. This took 6 months, sort of on and off, to make. But yeah, to try and make a tournament arc into a film is going to be almost impossible. But one thing before we do wrap up, I do want to just go back to the fight for a second.
Oh no, anything you want to talk about, please go ahead. This is the behind the scenes look here.
Yeah, I was just going to say that a majority of the film does use the film's animation for the fight. But there are a lot of scenes that people didn't like from the film because they were filled with CGI. And I did my best to sort of remove them and replace them with the best parts of Super because, despite the reputation Super has, there are some scenes that are genuinely great. Naoki Tate is an incredible animator, and he did a really, really impressive cut in episode 26, and so does Shimanuki in episode 25. And in the film, when Golden Frieza and Goku charge at each other, it's this really ugly CGI section, and it's kind of slow, and it doesn't really feel like this clash of two titans that it should be. So I cut that, I removed the CGI, and I kind of created this sort of montage of the clips to sort of turn it into a genuinely animated scene that sort of flows into the rest of the film. And the last thing that I did change was in the film they stop halfway through the fight, and Vegeta's like, "Hey, I want to cut in," and Goku's like, "No fair, you've worked out his weakness." And when they start fighting again, the music that plays is really upbeat and synthy, and it feels really weird. It's always stuck out to me because this is meant to be, the big dramatic part of the fight, but there's no drama there because the music doesn't work for the scene.
Wow, that's Sumitomo. Can't be as bad as Super.
Yeah, so I switched that out and I put in another Sumitomo track from Super that was used in that section of the fight in the TV series, and it works so much better. And that's I guess that's pretty much all of the changes. There are some minor things here and there. I did some continuity edits. There's a scene in Super in episode 27 where Gohan goes back to Videl and he's covered in holes. But obviously in my edit, he doesn't get tortured by Frieza. So I had someone called Plow Killer. He helped me get rid of all of the holes from Gohan in that scene. So that's been edited.
And that's one thing I want to say too, is at the end of the film, the ending of the film goes back to the barbecue, to the party, like from Super, not just them talking by the cliffs in the movie.
Yeah, no, it's a proper ending. And another part that I tried to improve overall was there's some sections of Super where the animation is really good, but then there's just this cutaway to like really ugly scenes. So I had a good friend, Detective X. He actually reanimated a part of the film. So that one cut that had this ugly scene in it is now really nice. So it should flow really well. Put a lot of work into this film, so hopefully everyone enjoys it.
Did you ever consider putting Kikuchi in there? Because I know I've heard a lot of people talk about this. Have you ever considered that?
Dude, I would love to, but I just can't. Like as I said, Super is stereo. I can't separate the music like I can with the film. It's a shame.
Yeah, and it would be weird if you had Sumitomo and then Kikuchi. I mean, you might be able to make it work, but I feel like it would be kind of jarring for the viewer.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be weird.
Yeah. So everybody check out the super cut of Resurrection F, 2 hours and 3 minutes. I do feel it's a better film. It's actually, you see, one thing I like that you did is you intercut between Frieza and then Goku and Vegeta. Frieza, Goku, and Vegeta, because you're kind of seeing, even though we did not, there's still some missing elements here, okay? And this is not your fault. This is Toei. We never saw Frieza train, which still bugs me, because I think I've told you, maybe I haven't told you, but my dream, AJ, is for them to have had the F song playing while Frieza's training, like Rocky.
I'm exactly the same. I did what I could. I took the flashback of Tagoma talking about how he got, put to near death every day and splice that between Goku and Vegeta training. That was the best I could do. I tried.
And that's it. And that's what I'm saying. There's nothing else you can do. Like, I wanted Frieza to bench press a planet. I wanted him to wear a tracksuit. You know, dude, there was so much potential for comedy, man. They fucked it up. But nonetheless, I like how you did that because you're showing Vegeta and Goku training to, you know, achieve levels beyond God, and then you're seeing Frieza training for just a second. But I like how you cut between like the art, you know, the I guess the discussion on the ship, and then back to Goku and Vegeta. So you're seeing like you're kind of building up the fight from two separate points. And I also liked, right, because it's gonna, some people are gonna be debating this, but the fact that you left out the Goku and Vegeta training in Whis' dimension inside of his staff, I like that. I didn't see that in the cut. You left that out. And I like that because you made SS Blue a surprise, so to speak, instead of having the I guess the foreshadowing.
Yeah. So I I would have loved to have had a little bit of foreshadowing, like there's a part, a Shimanuki episode. I can't remember which one it is. It's maybe, I don't know, 19 or something, where Goku and Vegeta punch fists, and there's just this blue that happens, and that's your little foreshadowing. And I tried to put that in there, and I also tried to get rid of the very obvious, hey, I can rewind time, I'm Whis, I'm magic. I tried to get rid of that, and I tried to include the form foreshadowing, but I couldn't. It was impossible to edit in seamlessly with the movie footage. The angles were all different, and people were stood in different places. I tried. I couldn't. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, you work what you can. So, yeah, everybody please go check out AJ's cut, the Dragon Ball Super Resurrection F Super Cut, 2 hours and 3 minutes. I mean, I'm, you know, in the future, guys, if you never want to watch Super again, which some folks aren't going to want to because they're very let down, and you want to watch a more full cut of Resurrection F, and you want to just go Battle of Gods, Resurrection F, and then Universe 6 arc, this is the way to do it, especially with the post-credit scene, which I loved it so much. I loved it. I'm telling you, it was just, if they had done that in the theater, bro, I mean, they didn't know, obviously, but I'm just saying, still, it's just, go check it out and leave your comments down below. Thank you for being here, AJ.
No worries.
And giving us insight. And AJ may appear in a future edition of the Kanzenshuu podcast talking about this more in depth, but everybody check that out for sure, and we'll catch you down the road.